Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Marketer of the Day podcast. We are here with Gessie Schechinger, and Gessie is the laziest salesman in America, and he's the Vice President of Sales for the OnCourse Sales Engagement Platform. And we are going to talk today about CRMs, sales engagements platforms, and how your company should leverage sales automation. So, Gessie, glad to be talking to you.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Robert. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, and I appreciate you hopping on and telling us what you do and some of these ahas that you've been having, because sometimes people get stuck or they need ideas, or maybe the way that they've been going about getting sales and getting leads for their business has been all wrong, or maybe they've been making it so much harder on themselves than it needs to be. So can you tell me about OnCourse and what makes you and your team and your company stand out? What makes you really special?
Yeah, well, and it's interesting that you say that. You're constantly, any kind of business owner or a person in a sales role, historically, like you're always trying to do as much as you can, right? And there's only so much time in the day. And you never know if what you're doing is actually the most effective use of your time. You're always just kind of going down these avenues. So what we did at OnCourse is the mothership of our company is ZibTech, and we're a software development services company. And we're one of those companies that, we're not a large company, but we're not a tiny company either. And we just had so many sales tools. So we had Salesforce, and then we had Salesloft, and then attached to that, we had MailChimp. We had all these things. And so I started looking at it, and I was just like, A, how many logins do we plan on dealing with? And how long do we plan on doing that? And then all these systems quasi talk together, but they didn't really talk together. And so trying to get kind of what I would say, I was trying to establish a compass for where I should be directing out efforts and resources. And I was struggling. And so as a software development company, I'm like, oh, you guys, put something together for me. I mean, this is getting crazy. So we started, we rolled it out, we used it for ours, and we started seeing some results. And then from then on, we started rolling out to our clients, and now we're, trying to make a buck selling the thing.
Fantastic. And, as you were mentioning that journey, what came to mind is there's that thing called not invented here syndrome, right? Where say if Microsoft Word already exists, you don't want to say, well, let's just make our own Microsoft Word for the heck of it. But if you're piecing together all these systems that you said, like they kind of sort of talk to each other, and sometimes for the CRM to talk to the autoresponder has to go and talk to that, and that talks to that, and sometimes it fails and it doesn't quite like pass all the data across. Like I can completely sympathize with it being a headache and saying okay, there really is a need for something to tie it all together, because the existing solution only gets you about 70% of the way there. And so it sounds like this is kind of like like an all-in-one solution, right? Instead of having all these
Yeah.
things that do some things, it does it all.
Yeah, so it's a combination of an all-in-one solution, and then also we're very much small business guys. So there's a lot of small businesses and even individuals that are owning their own business that they're trying to do something where they truly in today's market need a lot of functionality, but they can't afford to pay all the license fees to get every single piece of that from what I would say are quote unquote the specialists. So it allows you the opportunity to get some really solid functionality, really expand your marketing efforts. So when I'm talking about that functionality, Robert, I'm talking about, so our tool is a CRM, we call it a sales engagement platform. And it's really just a fun way to describe. We have a CRM, which is you're going to have your contact database, right? You're going to be able to attach notes and documents and all that kind of stuff to that. And then you'll have your opportunity pipeline management. But really where we kind of separate ourselves is we've also hooked up like the phone, like the tool's got a phone system built into it. It's got like a MailChimp type constant bulk email functionality tool. It does SMS, bulk SMS. It also has automation, LinkedIn automation. You can do those drip campaigns. You can do a lot of multi-channel marketing with it. And the funny thing is as we discover we're capable of building new things, we're adding them to the tool to kind of chip away at our own bills. And so we're taking on along a lot of different functionality, but it isn't like something we don't try to do at once. We've just kind of bolted these things on, and now it seems like a viable product.
Super cool. It is the solution that you needed, and so now that you are the guinea pig and you're adding in the things that you as a small business want and need, now the rest of us can take advantage of that. And I can relate to what you're talking about there, how sometimes, especially the CRM systems, it seems like there's like hundreds, and some of
There's
them are not.
actually there's actually 358 CRMs, and
Oh, I believe it.
Salesforce owns 19% of the market. So it's pretty intense.
Yeah, yeah, pretty cutthroat. But then I've used some of those systems where, like, I just wanted to add a contact, and I had to add it three different ways because I had to add like the company, and then the owner, and the contact person, and I had to add it in triplicate because they interface in different ways. And then also I've also dealt with that hurt of, say I wanted five people to log in, I had to pay a monthly fee for every single person to log in, and it was, I mean, no big deal if you're a huge enterprise company, but if it cuts into your profit, like that's no good. And so yeah, so can you kind of, to make sure that we understand all these terms and things that we're throwing out, can you walk us through like a case study or an example of a company that uses your system and how they can kind of make it all work together? How you mentioned like there's like the phone and SMS, just how is it easy for like a real company that uses your system here?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'd say first off is it's one bill, so that helps, right? That simplifies things. And then that's an advantage lots of companies can use. But, as I just said, there's 359 CRMs on the market today. And so you're kind of telling yourself, well, all right, what the world needs is one more. So the way that I think we particularly stand out is through our LinkedIn automation and how we have really nailed into that. And, you know, the weird thing about automation in general, and I'll take you through there's a dental implant company, and these dental implant company, they traditionally had to be out in the field knocking doors, really visiting offices, doing that, but they needed to find a new way to be able to go and sell. And so LinkedIn became popular, and LinkedIn is very, very popular at this current moment in time when it comes to selling. And the trouble is that LinkedIn was built as a great platform for that networking and connecting and things like that, but it wasn't really built to sell in. And so there's not a lot of great follow-up. The inbox is kind of a disaster. You try to scroll through to get to the bottom, it just keeps loading, loading, loading. And it was really tough to get down. And so, or our tool, for example, you could go into Sales Navigator. We have a Chrome plugin that attaches into there, and then you can go in, it'll automatically do some of the steps. Like, so I call myself the laziest sales guy because I hate burning calories on dumb stuff. And yes, it's a grind, and yes, you have to do all those things, but how can we automate our way out of a lot of these? And so, like, one of those things you can do is you can, use a tool like OnCourse and like, all right, well, I'm going to connect with 100 people a day, and it's just going to do it for me. And I'm waking up in the morning and there's nothing going on. And then I also can automate that second message, which is largely the thanks for connecting, pretty much the extent of it. And then what we really wanted to do to really kind of up the game is, Robert, I'm sure that you can probably sniff out a canned message from the second you see it, right?
Oh yeah.
And so, like, you have to be able to, like, how can I functionally go in, really look at somebody's background, really decide if I want to engage with them, but not just automatic blast. And so we'd actually created this thing that will automatically prompt messages within LinkedIn, let you fill out, a couple of the, we call it the 2x2. It's take 2 minutes, find two personalized things to put in a message before you send it out. And allows you to create and do some of that stuff in line and really just jam through. And so with this dental implant company, they were able to just cover a lot of ground and stay active when they were stuck indoors for a little bit. And so it's probably the most, and oh boy, did LinkedIn sales go up huge. If you want to sell on LinkedIn these days, you got to stand out big time.
And I've noticed that, like, I log into LinkedIn maybe once every couple of weeks, and the inbox, like you said, it's just a mess. and it seems like at least half or more of the messages is just a canned response, and I'm not even going to acknowledge this person at all. And maybe there are people out there, dental implant companies and companies in other industries who like they think LinkedIn doesn't work because they're going about it the wrong way. They're not using this tool that you have. And as you were explaining that how it removes some of the cumbersome things, it reminds me of like, remember those that eBay software? Like there'd be all these different programs where like you could run 100 auctions on eBay and it would just give you like a
Sure.
table of all your stuff, or you could snipe bid, or just all the features that, well, eBay wouldn't care about. They're not going to go out of their way to help someone selling 200 items a day on eBay. And the same way that LinkedIn, I mean, they want people to use their platform, but they will not bend over backwards for salespeople to be able to do all this automatic follow up. And so that's why there's a need for this specialized tool that you provide. And I mean, but then the thing that always comes to mind when people talk about this LinkedIn software is viewing all the profiles, right? Blasting out the same exact canned response. So I like how it kind of has the best of both worlds. It can give you these prompts to kind of customize the message so that way you get the scale, but also not that spammy factor that makes everyone just close the message.
Yeah, and I'm in an interesting position because while I run a company that has an entire platform that promotes automation, I also despise when it's used irresponsibly. It's like we've given everybody a machine gun, but that doesn't necessarily mean you got to go level the thing. Like you can still automate your processes and fill in the gaps, but still keep personalized. Like you can definitely use these tools to keep yourself going, make sure you're hitting your leads that you want to per day, make sure you're reaching out and that you're doing some of this outreach and you're automating some of it, but you can also just kind of fill in the gaps. And, the example of that being like, do the connect in, do the thank you notes, automate the thank you notes, all that stuff. But when it comes to the bulk, I mean, really what we're ultimately all trying to do out here when you're selling, I mean, money comes through the telephone or money comes through a meeting. And so everything is leading to drive to that. And I mean, I don't know if I've ever had a meeting with somebody who the start of the relationship was with a 5-paragraph email. I haven't read, I don't know about you. When's the last time, Robert, you've read a email from someone you don't know that was 5 paragraphs long?
Never. After 2 sentences, I give up.
It's like, okay, sales guy, next, just kind of fly through.
But there have been people that have worn me down. There have been people that over time sent me something a few days, a few months later, and sent me something that was short, to the point, got my attention, and I knew was meant for me. It wasn't just sent to 10,000 other people. So some people, by kind of using that same energy but applying it more personalized and more over time, they have eventually gotten me.
Oh yeah, and the persistence is always the winner, right? And the funny thing is that there is a report that comes out annually called the Topo report. And what Topo is, it's a third-party organization that they study the sales outreach efforts of roughly 300 to 400 companies, and they produce the report of like how many touches did it take for an account-based lead, for a cold lead, for inbound marketing lead. And everything is kind of interesting. I'm not a psychologist, but it's always, you have to really get through those first 6 touches before people, especially email marketing. Email marketing has a 1% to 2% click rate. And so there's not, I mean, you got to burn through some stuff. You got to burn through and really filter to the people that you want to and follow up particularly well to make that work for you. And so you do have to get through that steps, as you were saying. I mean, there's something psychologically that we all say in our heads that's like, all right, there's a sales guy, boom, okay. And then eventually get you like, all right, what does this guy want? And then you engage.
And so, and speaking to that about, like how one or two messages won't necessarily cut it. We need to follow up. We need to get them on the phone. We need to get them on a sales call. Does your tool help with that too? Because as you know, it's easy to say, click on this and fill in these boxes. But what if someone has that fear of saying, well, I can see the value in marketing on LinkedIn using your tool, but as far as making like this 7-part sequence or getting people on the phone, that seems a little discouraging. So how do you help with that?
Yeah, so our tool allows you to create these sales sequences or cadences. And they're multi-channel in the sense that you'll set up a couple stages for yourself, and you only have to do it once, and then you can actually bulk add people into this. And largely we try to take it where you only have to have like what I'll call the think day. You only have to have the think day once. And then from there, you're just kind of following the motions that are being thrown in front of you. A lot of salespeople and business owners are very task oriented. You write out a list, you bang out the items on the list, and then you're done. Our sales sequences work a lot like that. So something will come up, it'll be email response, it'll trigger to you, you'll complete it, and then the next one will come up. And so it's going to trigger you to do those follow-up calls to really force you, as long as you can keep up to date with your task list, to accomplish all those and make sure that you're hitting everybody and truly working these, prospects and leads that you have.
Well, fantastic. And so, as far as people getting through that list, I mean, do you see people getting stuck at any point? Because, like, sometimes maybe maybe they don't delegate enough, or maybe they don't check their numbers and they're doing a lot of, like, spinning the hamster wheel. What advice do you have for people to keep them from getting stuck banging out these to-do lists?
Yeah, so what I would say is that, so the world is saying that we should market to people through multiple communication channels. And there's a lot of ways that we can automate those individual communication channels. Email is probably the simplest one. Next, after that, you can automate a fair amount of your LinkedIn outreach. You can't really automate getting up and getting on the phone. And so set yourself up with individual things so that the biggest cautionary tale is don't ever create some kind of grand plan with automation that has a manual step in the middle of it, because you're going to have a day and that day is going to go sideways and you're not going to finish all the little to-do things in your list. And what you don't want is things to stack up and go. And so if you're looking at a CRM tool that's going to help you really amplify your efforts, you want to set up particular, what I would call manual sequences, and then automation for several channels, and keep them separate. So no matter if you slack off, or maybe had a long time partying the night before, and you just aren't feeling great today, or you want to go play golf, all the automation can keep going, and you can just bang through the phone calls and stuff that are absolutely necessary for you to do, and then kind of just let the rest do its own thing and wait to, as we say, we keep throwing the ball out, throwing the ball, waiting for someone to throw it back. And so you're really just kind of moving it to more reactionary and doing all that outreach stuff you can let the software do for you.
I like that attitude a lot. Don't have the manual step in the middle of the automation. And that can apply in so many different ways. And it makes it easier on yourself, right? Because, like, in some of these things that do require manual work, like picking up the phone and making those phone calls, well, who wants to make 1,000 phone calls? Why not let the automation and the messaging take those 1,000 people and narrow it down into the top 10 phone calls that you need to make? And that way it ends up being a better use of your time, or of your team's time.
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely.
Well, great. And so what do people need to know about this OnCourse platform? Like, about like pricing? Is it web-based? How many people can use it? What are the details?
Yeah, so we have a flat rate we have a flat rate fee based on users. I mean, you can get around, $50 a seat. Please go to tryoncourse.com. You can sign up for a demo there, check things out. And then past that, I mean, really, our sole goal is to help small businesses, especially if you're a business or an individual who has not really seen a value in a CRM before, or you're just trying to dip your toes into what can technology do for my business. We're very hands-on. Like I said, we're not this like super mega corp that has 800 salespeople. So we bring on our clients. We have a lot of training that comes included with your user fee. We want you to be successful because I want you to be so dependent on this platform that you're never going to leave me and I can make lots of money off you, right? But we really want to get you, because that's the other big challenge that people have with software is they don't know what they don't know, so they only end up using, a third of the tool. And so we really will guide, and we do a white glove process of getting on board. And so for those people in particular, we really want to reach out to them, help them, and show them, how they're going to have to kick it in the new gear and leverage some technology in their sales process.
Well, fantastic. Well, I think that is very on brand with your philosophy that you share with us today. Don't just have the tool for the sake of it, or don't have this tool that adds complexity in your life. You have the software, you need to also use it, so that is very reassuring that there's also the videos and the training, so that way people can use this tool, and that the way it just does not become something that sits on the shelf that they cancel. Everyone out there, including myself, need to get more on board with LinkedIn marketing. We need to automate it, that way we aren't killing ourselves, and we need to automate it with a tool that is meant for us and us small business owners. That isn't some crazy enterprise level thing. We need to go to tryoncourse.com and check out that demo, and we'll see you at tryoncourse.com. Any final parting words of wisdom before we wrap up here, Gessie?
Software is supposed to help you. It's not supposed to make your day worse. So whenever you're looking through software, make sure that it's something that's actually bringing value to your organization or your business. And thank you so much, Robert. Appreciate your time. It's awesome that you had me on.
Thank you, Gessie, and we'll see everyone at tryoncourse.com.